The town of Ridgewood nestled peacefully under the vast expanse of the summer night sky, a canvas of twinkling stars. It was a quiet place where life moved at a slower pace, and the only sounds that broke the stillness were the chirping of crickets and the occasional hoot of an owl. The Johnson family, like most of the townspeople, was winding down for the night. 12-year-old Max Johnson was the last to go to bed, his nose buried in a book of puzzles and riddles, his favorite pastime. Just as Max was about to close his book and turn off the light, a strange humming noise filled the air. It started softly, almost imperceptibly, but quickly grew louder and more intense. Max's heart raced as he jumped out of bed and ran to the window. Outside, a blinding light descended from the sky, illuminating the entire neighborhood. The humming grew deafening, and before Max could call out to his parents, the light engulfed him, and everything went dark. Max awoke to the sound of muffled voices and the sensation of cold metal beneath him. He sat up, disoriented, and found himself in a large, metallic room. The walls glowed with an eerie green light, and the air smelled of ozone. Around him were other townspeople, all equally bewildered and frightened. His parents, Mr. and Mrs. Johnson, were nearby, clutching each other in fear. "Mom? Dad?" Max called out, scrambling to his feet. His parents rushed to his side, enveloping him in a tight embrace. "Max, are you okay?" his mother asked, her voice trembling. "I'm fine, but where are we?" Max replied, his eyes scanning the room. Before anyone could offer a guess, a door slid open with a hiss, and a group of tall, slender beings with large, almond-shaped eyes entered the room. They moved with an eerie grace, their movements fluid and almost hypnotic. The townspeople huddled together, their fear palpable. The aliens communicated telepathically, their thoughts echoing in the minds of the humans. "Welcome, subjects. You have been chosen to participate in a test. Failure to comply will result in your termination." Panic rippled through the crowd. People began to shout, demanding answers, but the aliens remained unfazed. They gestured towards another door, which opened to reveal a room filled with 100 chairs arranged in a circle. Each chair had a different colored hat placed on it. The aliens led the townspeople into the room and explained the rules of the test. Each of you will be placed on a chair with a hat on your head. You cannot see the color of your own hat but can see the hats of the others. You must figure out the color of your own hat without communicating with each other. You will be given 10 minutes to do so. If you fail, you will all be executed. The room fell silent as the gravity of the situation sank in. Max looked around at the frightened faces of his fellow townspeople, his mind racing. He knew this was more than just a test of intelligence, it was a matter of life and death. The seconds ticked by, and Max's heart pounded in his chest. He took a deep breath, trying to calm himself. He had always loved puzzles and riddles, and now he had to use that knowledge to save everyone. Determined to find a way out, Max began to think, his sharp mind working through the problem. He knew there had to be a solution, and he was determined to find it before time ran out. As the townspeople took their seats, the room was charged with a palpable sense of urgency and fear. The aliens stood in a semicircle, observing with unblinking eyes. Each person found themselves sitting with a hat on their head, unable to see its color. Max's mind raced as he looked around at the hats on the other townspeople. He noticed that the hats were of only two colors, red and blue. He tried to remember the logic puzzles he loved so much, hoping one of them held the key to solving this life or death predicament. The rule was clear. Figure out the color of your own hat without speaking or communicating in any way. Max recalled a riddle he had read once about prisoners and hats. The solution hinged on using parity, or the evenness or oddness, of the hat colors they could see. He knew that if he could communicate this strategy to the others without speaking, they stood a chance of surviving. Max's eyes met those of his parents. He saw the fear in their eyes, but also the trust they had in him. He needed to stay calm and think clearly. He looked around and saw an even number of blue hats. This information was crucial. He stood up slowly, catching the attention of the others. With deliberate movements, he pointed to his hat and then to the hats of the people next to him. Using hand signals, he tried to convey the idea of counting the hats. Some of the townspeople looked confused, but a few began to nod as they understood. Max continued to gesture, pointing to his eyes and then holding up two fingers, indicating the concept of parity. He pointed to the hats again, showing with his fingers the even and odd numbers. Gradually, more people began to grasp what he was trying to communicate. He then pointed to himself and held up one finger, signaling that he would be the first to guess. He glanced around again, confirming the number of blue hats he saw was even. With a deep breath, he guessed his own hat was red, following the rule he had devised. The townspeople, still unsure but hopeful, prepared to follow his lead. They looked around, counted the hats, and used the same logic Max had demonstrated. One by one, they made the guesses based on the parity of the hats they could see. The aliens watched silently, their eyes reflecting the eerie green light of the room. The tension was unbearable, and every second felt like an eternity. Max could feel the weight of the responsibility on his shoulders. If even one person got it wrong, they would all pay the price. After what felt like hours but was only a few minutes, all the townspeople had made their guesses. The room fell into a tense silence as they waited for the aliens' verdict. The green light flickered, and the aliens approached, their telepathic voices echoing in the humans' minds. "You have made your choices. The test is now complete." Max held his breath, his heart pounding in his chest. The fate of the entire group hung in the balance. The aliens paused, their expressions unreadable. The room was steeped in an oppressive silence as the aliens approached the circle of seated townspeople. Max's heart felt like it might burst from his chest. He watched the alien leader closely, hoping to discern some hint of their fate in its unreadable face. The alien leader's eyes glowed a deeper green, and Max's skin prickled with fear. The aliens' telepathic voices reverberated in their minds. "You have made your choices. We will now determine if you have passed the test." The aliens circled the room, their long fingers hovering over the heads of each participant as if they were taking some invisible measurement. Max's mind raced. Had they made the correct guesses? Had everyone understood the system well enough to save them all? Max's parents squeezed his hands reassuringly, but he could feel the tremble in their grips. They were all scared, but they had put their faith in him. He swallowed hard, determined not to let them down. One by one, the aliens paused behind each person, their fingers glowing slightly as they hovered above each hat. As they moved around the circle, the glow on their fingers changed colors, red for correct and blue for incorrect. Max watched, counting the reds and blues, and his heart sank every time he saw a blue. Max could hardly breathe as the aliens continued their assessment. When they finally reached him, he closed his eyes, silently praying that he had made the right guess. He felt the cold presence of the alien behind him and waited for what seemed like an eternity. A red glow illuminated the alien's fingers. Max let out a breath he didn't realize he was holding. He had guessed correctly. He opened his eyes and saw that most of the people had red glows, but a few blues were scattered around. The alien leader returned to the center of the room. "You have passed, but not without errors. Those with incorrect guesses will be removed." Panic surged through the group. Max stood up, desperate to find a way to save everyone. "Wait. Please, you can't just take them. There must be another way." The alien leader's eyes focused on Max, and a cold, telepathic voice entered his mind. "The rules were clear, but we are not without mercy. We will grant you one more test. If you solve it, everyone goes free. If you fail, all of you will face the consequences." Max's heart pounded. He had saved most of them, but now he had to save everyone. "What's the new test?" The alien leader raised a hand, and a holographic display appeared in the middle of the room. It showed a more complex riddle, a series of numbers and symbols, each one more confusing than the last. Max studied the display, his sharp mind already working through the possibilities. This was his chance to save everyone, and he wasn't about to let it slip away. The townspeople watched him with a mixture of hope and fear. They had come so far, and now everything depended on Max once again. He took a deep breath, cleared his mind, and began to solve the puzzle, determined to bring everyone back home safely. The room was silent except for the occasional hum of the holographic display and the soft whispers of the townspeople. Max's fingers traced the symbols in the air as he worked through the problem. He could feel the eyes of everyone on him, their hopes resting on his shoulders. After several tense minutes, Max's eyes lit up with realization. He had found the solution. He turned to the alien leader and explained the answer, his voice steady despite the pressure. The alien leader listened, its eyes narrowing as it processed the information. There was a long, agonizing pause. Then, the alien leader's eyes glowed with a brilliant green light, and its telepathic voice rang out. "You have solved the riddle. You are free to go." A wave of relief washed over the townspeople. The aliens motioned them towards the door, which slid open to reveal the familiar surroundings of Ridgewood. Max's parents hugged him tightly, tears of relief streaming down their faces. As they stepped through the door, the blinding light returned, and they found themselves back in their homes, safe and sound. The memory of the ordeal lingered, but they were alive and together. Max had saved them all with his sharp mind and brave heart. Ridgewood would never forget the night of the abduction, and Max's story would be told for generations as a testament to the power of logic, bravery, and the resilience of the human spirit. The Johnson family blinked in the familiar darkness of their living room, disoriented but overwhelmingly relieved. The oppressive hum and eerie green light of the alien ship had vanished, replaced by the quiet sounds of their home. Max's parents hugged him tightly, their relief palpable. "Max, you did it," his mother whispered, tears streaming down her cheeks. "You saved us." Max's father, his voice thick with emotion, added, "We're so proud of you, son." Word spread quickly through Ridgewood. Families reunited, and friends embraced, everyone sharing their experiences of the terrifying ordeal. The townspeople gathered in the town square the next morning, eager to discuss what had happened and to thank Max for his quick thinking and bravery. The mayor called an emergency town meeting, and the square was packed with anxious and curious residents. Max stood with his family, feeling a mixture of pride and humility as the townspeople looked at him with admiration and gratitude. "Max Johnson, please come forward," the mayor called, his voice carrying a tone of reverence. Max walked up to the front, feeling the weight of everyone's eyes on him. The mayor placed a hand on his shoulder. "Max, your bravery and quick thinking saved us all. On behalf of the entire town, thank you." The crowd erupted in applause, and Max blushed, feeling both proud and slightly embarrassed by the attention. He cleared his throat and spoke into the microphone, his voice steady despite the overwhelming emotions. "I just did what I thought was right. We were all in this together, and I'm just glad we all made it back." After the meeting, life in Ridgewood slowly returned to normal, but the events of that night left an indelible mark on everyone. People were more connected, more appreciative of their community, and more willing to help one another. The shared experience had forged stronger bonds among the townspeople. Max, too, found that his life had changed. He became a local hero, but more importantly, he felt a deeper connection to his town and the people in it. He continued to pursue his love of puzzles and riddles, but now with a newfound sense of purpose and confidence. He often found himself being asked to help with various problems around town, from organizing events to tutoring other kids in math and logic. One afternoon, as Max sat in the town library, working through a particularly challenging puzzle, he was approached by a group of younger kids. They looked at him with wide eyes, clearly in awe of the hero who had saved the town. "Max, can you teach us how to solve puzzles like you do?" one of them asked, her voice filled with excitement. Max smiled, feeling a warm sense of fulfillment. "Of course. Puzzles are all about seeing things from different angles and thinking creatively. Let's start with something simple." As Max began to explain the basics of logic puzzles to the eager group, he realized that his experience had given him more than just recognition. It had given him a chance to inspire and educate others, to share his passion and help them develop their own problem-solving skills. In the months that followed, Max started a puzzle club at the local school, where kids of all ages could come together to solve riddles, play games, and challenge their minds. The club quickly became one of the most popular activities in town, fostering a sense of community and intellectual curiosity among the young residents. Years later, as Max looked back on that fateful night of the alien abduction, he knew that it had shaped him into the person he had become. The ordeal had tested his courage and intelligence, but it had also taught him the value of community, the importance of staying calm under pressure, and the power of a well-thought-out plan. Ridgewood would always remember Max Johnson as the boy who saved the town, but Max would remember it as the place that gave him the chance to grow, to learn, and to make a difference. And for that, he was forever grateful. Years passed, and Ridgewood continued to thrive, forever changed by the night of the alien abduction. The townspeople still spoke of that night with a mix of awe and gratitude, often recounting the bravery and quick thinking of young Max Johnson. Max himself had grown into a thoughtful and intelligent young man, his passion for puzzles and riddles only deepening over time. The puzzle club he started had flourished, becoming a cornerstone of the community. Children from all over town eagerly participated, eager to learn from Max and share in the camaraderie and joy of solving complex problems together. The club's success extended beyond the town, with other communities taking notice and starting their own versions. Max's reputation as a brilliant problem solver spread far and wide. Universities and research institutions began to take an interest in his talents, offering him scholarships and opportunities to collaborate on cutting-edge projects. Despite these offers, Max remained grounded, committed to his hometown and the people who had supported him. One day, while Max was leading a particularly challenging puzzle session at the club, a stranger arrived in Ridgewood. The man, dressed in a crisp suit and carrying a briefcase, introduced himself as Dr. Alan Carter, a leading scientist in cognitive research. Max Johnson? Dr. Carter approached Max with a warm smile. "I've heard remarkable things about you. Your ability to solve complex problems under pressure is nothing short of extraordinary." Max shook the man's hand, curiosity piqued. "Thank you, Dr. Carter. How can I help you?" Dr. Carter's eyes sparkled with excitement. "I lead a team of researchers studying advanced cognitive processes, and we believe your insights could be invaluable to our work. We're working on projects that could change the world, things like artificial intelligence, brain-computer interfaces, and even solutions to global challenges like climate change and disease." Max listened intently, intrigued by the possibilities. He had always dreamed of using his skills to make a broader impact, and this seemed like an incredible opportunity. After discussing the details with his family and the townspeople, Max decided to accept Dr. Carter's invitation. Max's departure was bittersweet. The townspeople gathered to bid him farewell, expressing their pride and gratitude. His parents, who had always been his biggest supporters, hugged him tightly, knowing that he was destined for great things. "Go make us proud, Max," his father said, his voice filled with emotion. "And remember, Ridgewood will always be your home." With a heavy heart but an eager mind, Max left Ridgewood and joined Dr. Carter's team. The work was challenging but immensely rewarding. Max's insights and problem-solving abilities quickly earned him a place of respect among the scientists and researchers. He contributed to breakthroughs in various fields, always approaching problems with the same calm and logical mindset that had saved his town years ago. One night, while working late in the lab, Max received an urgent message from Ridgewood. The town was facing a new crisis. A severe drought had struck, threatening the water supply and the livelihoods of its residents. Max felt a pang of worry and responsibility. He knew he had to help. Max took a leave of absence from his research and returned to Ridgewood. He rallied the townspeople, using his problem-solving skills to devise a plan to manage and conserve their water resources. Through innovative thinking and community cooperation, Ridgewood overcame the drought, emerging stronger and more united than ever. Max's return to Ridgewood reaffirmed his belief in the power of community and collaboration. He realized that no matter where his work took him, his heart would always belong to his hometown. Inspired by his experiences, Max continued to work on projects that bridged the gap between advanced research and practical solutions for everyday problems. His legacy grew, not just as the boy who saved his town from an alien test, but as a visionary thinker who used his gifts to improve the world around him. Max Johnson's story became a symbol of resilience, intelligence, and the enduring power of human ingenuity. As the years went by, Max remained deeply connected to Ridgewood, often visiting to share his latest discoveries and mentor the next generation of puzzle solvers. He knew that the true measure of his success was not in the accolades or achievements, but in the lives he touched and the community he helped build. Ridgewood, forever grateful, thrived under his legacy, always remembering the night they were saved by a boy with a brilliant mind and an unyielding spirit. Max's story continued to inspire, a testament to the power of thinking creatively, acting bravely, and working together to overcome any challenge.